Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, May 7th, year 2024, here with the Hello Showman. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Continue with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there. And make it your business to enhance and fortify this wonderful, precious concept called public access as it casually spread across the communities of the United States of America. And we have a wonderful one of these beautiful public access stations here in Waynescott, New York. I wanted to emphasize again and again that we have the opening on this coming Friday, the 10th, May 10th, between 3 and 7 for Matt Rayner, a wonderful artist. And I have the privilege to actually curate the show with the help of Chris Lecoeur and show about 40 paintings and mixed media pieces of his. It's nothing short of a a meaningful layout of work and meaningful spread of work, and we're proud to have it, and we're proud to have the opportunity to show Matt's work. Come this Friday through the 7, you get to meet the artist and, of course, maybe become acquainted with the station, LTV station here in Waynescott, New York, 75 Industrial Road. And as I mentioned, it is Tuesday morning, May 7th, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Of course, I'm going to be jumping right into the thick of it when it comes to the creative process. I mean, if you know me out there, I always try to find myself in a new territory just by way of venturing and kind of repeating the obvious. But when you repeat the obvious, at least I can tell you about myself, the person who actually speaks the word, externalizes the thought, and you might be happen to be the person that just happened to be there listening and absorbing and accepting or not, or agreeing or not, but just kind of being the one that takes all the information in. So it creates a very vital loop that goes back to the artist, back to this immediate space of the artist where he or she create, and back to you, the crowds that happen to be your own kind of artists that you on the go of that process that never allows you to think that it's too much. I trying to share with you a quote. I forgot who it was. I think it was. Well, I would say the late 70s in New York City when you have this kind of. Well, actually, it started late 50s, and then the introduction of some kind of an awkwardness mixed with some kinds of unique capability, certain type of genius, where um, you're able to very comfortably at ease find yourself deciphering issues in ways that are very um, colorful and very rich with a fertile stage base that automatically gives you kind of enough food for at least, like, okay, you're entering, you got 2 3 months where you can really be left alone and figure things out for yourself, show some progress, um, enhance the acknowledgement and the understanding of the concept that's going to be taking a major part of your life for the duration of your life. Yesterday, I had a great moment where I found myself in front of a painting that I thought was very precious. was. I say was because it changed already from the moment that I felt that, because I did something that just like made it to become something that it wasn't before. And it's amazing how when you force yourself uh, to face step one, stage one, going as a drummer, it was very easy because my teacher, my mentor, she always used to tell me, go back to basics. And for him, basics was the usual, you know, the single stroke rolls, double stroke rolls. You couldn't even tell a single stroke from a stroke roll, from a double stroke, because he was so together with it, so one with that acknowledgement that this is who he is, because it's the life that he lives and the thoughts that he thinks, and the person that he is and the body that he is. It's just amazing how it's put together live, being unfolded, and you're kind of witnessing some action in the very space where you know you're the only one there. Those canvases serve as a reminder. So I had this puzzled face looking at me out of a huge canvas, 4 by 5. Not, it's not huge, medium, but still that face that I'm not accustomed in drawing or attempting to draw. I'm just gonna now and then, maybe after the fact, realize, oops, I was just trying to. Suddenly realize you tried to do something that you can't really do, and usually you don't do because you can't do, or don't know how to do, or don't know how to do enough to be able to serve your expectations. So if it doesn't have the bare minimum that it needs in order to hold, to shoot some roots and conserve water, store water, and then the process, at least at the early crucial stages, assures you um, a certain continuity. So let's say you're given half an hour. If you think about it, most shows on TV are half an hour. And when I get my 1 hour here, it's sometimes very tricky because I find myself more often than not suddenly realize that I'm like still recording and it's 7 minutes past the hour. So that's a pleasant realization, to realize that you actually can hold that long, and it's a sign that you like what you're doing, and maybe you're doing it kind of okay. You remember what I shared with you yesterday about no matter what kind of an emotional state of mind and interaction, as you live in a society, in a group, in a neighborhood, you always think about, whoa, what kind of an impression did I leave with people, with new people that you get to meet. There's just so much that's going on that sometimes you would go back home and say, there was an awkward moment there. I hope I didn't mess it up, or something like that. Or just actually being affected from someone's remark or statement. People that don't mean to harm you, but they just can hurt you because they're going through what they're going through, and sometimes it's just the spur of the moment that things are coming to life. But to write a poem, to write a poem is so many things that needs to come together to make it happen. Really is instant, but to make it happen, you need to know a lot about a lot, and you need to be in so many places at the same time. You need to always have recollections and find deposits of experience, and you kind of and you have your safe deposit box where you take it with you everywhere. I call it moments of grace, when you find yourself stuck, or when the one the one of music is too elusive, and when the potential of the future is so slippery. You, so you don't overdo it. You just know that you have a few tricks are still left under your sleeves, and when the emergency hit reality, you can at least react well for the first three, four things that are appearing that you need to address and pay attention to. This all is on daily basis, all over from end to end. What your studio is as an artist. So an artist would be the willingness to engage, let's just say you know nothing from nothing, which is pretty much most of us, really. Even those who really want to know and know something and have big heart and all this still on the surface, there's still nothing to show for. I was always taken by it. 30 years ago, I had a friend that always talked about something to show for. And I used to have conversations with him, but he was too far out. And I thought, like, what is he talking about? Something to show for. And he was an artist. He was a musician also. And I remember, yes, indeed, I know what it was. I began to understand because I was willing to look into his life, the part that I wasn't aware of, was unknown to me, and the deposits and the wealth of creations that you didn't have to wait for this person to pass from this world before you start appreciating uh, the amount of work investment, of course, because an artist towards an artist about an artist with an artist. Uh, you have a basic knowledge, not even if it's something you know for sure you cannot do yourself as an artist, but you can appreciate it a great amount. Um, Still, you know what it takes, technically speaking, to do this. So when you look at that piece of art, you're so loving it, you're so amazed, and you so understand that this is just a little bit further away from your ability to entertain being there without it. So you find yourself purely in the zone, in the time of observation. It's taking place as we speak now, and it doesn't end quickly. Uh, I remember when I went when I do go to museums. It used to be more often in the past, but not anymore really. But still, nevertheless, the major museums, when you hit them, it really is a plan that forms not before you enter the museum. I saw a lot of people planning their visit, and they always coming out disappointed. So I'm more like, I'm just going, and that's it. You're entering, you know, you're actually visiting someone else's studio. It can be the greats of the century, it can be the struggling, unique individuals in unknown places across the world, it can be art from all over. And you happen to begin to appreciate instantly. You enter these spaces, exhibitions, portrayal of museums and whatnot, vis-a-vis museums, I mean, and the world is reminded. But I do a crisscross. I do a crisscross because I saw something there, and it was just really magnificent. And I came to a realization of how much time, investment, goodwill, how many things had to go right, what level of tension was required, what's the price that was paid by this artist to create that. Technically, that was something that I could 100% able to relate to because I know the work. The fact that genius doesn't come and reside within my immediate vicinity is not really something I can help, okay? But still, nevertheless, goodwill and that continuity always work, always work. So you know by now that you made yourself a friend, and that friend is not that far away, detached from you. As a matter of fact, is actually latching on to you. So it's like a very soft union that can come to an end any second. And really, if you think about it, one doesn't need it more than just periodically. We don't need to adapt and to test and to check and then to decide. Okay, you know what? I think I'm going to keep it. It's okay if that's the case, but it just so happens that most of the time that what you want to keep is not yours to keep. So now the process of realizing this is not yours, the process for realizing someone else would need to be involved here. The discussions that will take place will come from its own um, inherent basic requirement, pretty much just to keep that machine going and make sure that we don't like suddenly realize we forgot to put oil or to change oil or to make sure the steam circulation is clean and that the fuel is the right fuel, and and the estimation of time is the right estimation, that the clock is working, that the uh, light food with some water to drink, and of course by now it's all, you can also deliver your thoughts onto the machine that will write it for you. An ongoingness that is should make us feel pretty sane, pretty down to earth as far as what is it? What makes sense? That which makes sense. That which makes sense. Yes, that which makes sense. And that's like an agreement that you don't revisit every other day. You kind of make decisions. You kind of somewhat get a, a required width, and that's it. You're good to go. You're good to embark. Then you realize most of the time when you get to choose and that you already have been embarking for quite a while. What a pleasant surprise! And like it reminded me when I had my conversations with Janet Lair here on the air. She's an entity when it comes to collection, being a gallerist. In more ways than one, having just the soul and spirit of an artist, so capable, so skilled. And she kind of touch and go represented me at some point, which was for me like, okay, I'm feeling good. And this woman was like coming to me and suddenly out of the blue would want to check things. We want to check something in my studio that will take like 3 hours, like 150 pieces that you were looking for something, you don't even know what you're looking for, and then you're always finding it for some reason beyond me. She used to tell me, don't do it. There are things that you just better off not doing. I know such even it would be just maybe, even though she was trying to take care of me professionally, still I always wanted to be able to say, well, I'm going to have a gathering here. You can call it an exhibition. It's just kind of my own groove painting, and you can call it a one man show. And I just want to rent some space, send some announcements, make sure I have something to show for. That something to show for will be the 25 or 32 or 41 paintings that you're going to show. And forget about impressing yourself, even though you're somewhat addicted to it, to the fact that you were impressed by yourself, rightfully so. But, we know better. But there will come a time where it will be, yes, doing the right thing, if only because you're kind of tired slash exhausted. So it sounds like a good idea suddenly, that which we resented for so long. Yes, to do, not to do. down with in that sense. And um, um, as I mentioned before, going back to basics. So my friend said, "You go back to basics." What is going back to basics? It's just like that, almost like limited basic approach to rhythm that is what your body agrees with. It's the kind of environment, the kind of solidity of surface, the kind of return of ground. Just like so um, so many parallel realities, and a great potential for multiplication of these. I mean, it's just a reality that actually probably the only one that I can accept the incredible amount of creations that pile up quickly, and they all seem to be fairly meaningful. That can become a problem. I mean, even in the era of external hard drives or whatever other top-notch devices that can store your thoughts for the next futuristic lifetimes and 27 others that you already lived in a flash. Yes, this enormity really is actually discouraging. Uh, I think the day that I bought this 5 terabyte of an external um, hard drive and I gave it to a friend that was supposed to just load, I don't know, 700 hours of this show, for example. Okay. It was happened to be in the computer. And then you say, okay, so 700 times, let's say, maximum 4, that's 2 point. It's still 2.8 terabyte. You have 2.2 left. And then you said to yourself, great. Now I realize I don't have to worry about this thing. I don't find myself going there again. I still have friends that talk about, when I say friends, really artist friends, still talk about their amazement of technical things that we know. They always say to myself, but we were already amazed so long ago. And we enjoyed it. We realized it. We digested it. We learned from it. Why are we like talking about it now, as if we need? Just why are we discussing it even? But it goes directly all the way to human nature. Human nature will kick in. Doesn't won't give you credit just because you found yourself an artist and you think it's important, and you're gonna contribute and you're gonna give from yourself. You're gonna give yourself like so many others like you, and you make a difference. A difference will be made, will be pointed out, and by power of gluing things and scribing things and painting things and framing things, like the um, this hands-on down to earth concept that's always happening, and you realize that this is just the back, this is this is just the back of the house where all this wonderful food that's been served into the forefront, that is so glorious, is made in those dark spaces with heavy sense of spices of generations, a heritage, a stamp, a symbol, um, a point of reference achieved by going back to basics. Um, I remember that when I realized once that I actually, one of the things that kept me busy for quite some years in thought, like I did with Tai Chi, I do with drumming. I uh, I can sum it up from beginning, middle, and end, really mostly inside my head. And it doesn't really take so much attention that I cannot do other things at the same time. So the uh, the idea of that, the maintenance of this scenario, because things, you can experience great things, and suddenly a minute later you won't even know what it was all about. You won't be able to begin to describe your experience. Things come and go, and they catch you ready or unready. But even if they catch you ready, they're so powerful. Your system is not accustomed to face, even if it's goodness, that power for so long. So long will be 10 minutes, 20 minutes will be like 5 eternities. Um, but you want to have something to show for, I was told. And suddenly I realized that maybe my uh, compromised uh, self awareness, self worth, am I an artist? And I'm surrounded by so many powerful individuals, people who know what they're doing, with credentials and education, wonderful, balanced, um, ready to be presented with pride. In addition to the revelation, wait until you read, wait until you'll observe, wait until you hear. Yes, wait, and then you realize it's just opening up. So when I went back to the remark of that person that was my age, but man, did I admire him. He was just the glory of flotation. He was the amazement of the human substance that usually is very soft and appealing and accommodating and inviting and including, so inclusive. Go there and say, okay, well, how to relate to the process of making someone aware, teaching someone the basics, knowing at least that you need to be just as basic as you can to introduce that and to make sense and to give a fair chance uh, and a thoughtful scenario estimation and coming up with a result, with a conclusion, with a somewhat of a plan on how we continue from here on. I mean, you meet, yes, okay, yes. You know how many meetings I had in my life which never really took place? It's just kind of scenarios that came to my head, and I didn't let it go so fast, and it just kind of went through the system and through all the mechanism of it. And sometimes interesting things come, suddenly show a face. And suddenly you realize you can use this, you can use that, you can use it here, that can further you there. It's just, I wouldn't say it's coordination, but it's cooperation, cooperating, uh, quickly enough realizing that the plan has been formed for us by the the moment that realized, or what it is that is needed in order not to disrupt this steady as she goes attitude, and just keep it intact, under watch, but just let it. It's gonna go slow anyway. I mean, moderately slow. So I remember there was an opportunity. I think it was 2001 or something, and I was just into my fifth year of supposedly attempting to find myself, mark my location, just as a basic notation of my existence. Really, I'm here. Okay, so if you're going to go through the names in the list, you'll finally bump into my name. It's there. So okay, So there was this stage. I want my name to be there. I want my name to be there hidden. It will be super difficult to find it, but it's there. Good. So now, in order to enter the second stage, there's only one way you can do it, unless you want to do the good old fashioned way. It will take you, 15 years. Just put another layer and another layer and hope and look around and wish for this and wish for that. And yes, there is progress, but this progress is really kind of nothing to show for, nothing to write home about. There is such a thing, nothing to write home about. It's real. I remember there were days that if my sister would ask me, "So how's art? How's this?" I wouldn't be so enthusiastic to talk about it because I didn't really know. Even though I used to paint a lot, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it would be like I was uh, um, not together with it yet. Full of goodwill and things are happening, all this, but really that I can coherently trace a process that took place that showed some kind of a level of sophistication and bearing results that are kind of satisfying and acceptable, and you're actually coming out of it realizing that you're just ended up exactly where you started. Where you started was that this vessel was just going uh, uh, just going uninterrupted and at ease with itself, steady as she goes, really into a center that you don't really need to bother so much to position myself there, because you're kind of there on and off, and that on and off is really creating a middle line where it's accurate and it's leveled and it's good. So in the and I think that I need to, okay, 16. Okay, very good. So steady as she goes. Go back to basics. Indulge in overwhelming these short list of exercises. Just very basic. You're really enthusiastic. You're having fun. You're feeling the power. And you're realizing what it is that's causing you to identify that power, and maybe the secret behind it, how simple it is. Oh yes, it's going through this door, and wow, and the door doesn't need a key. Just push it open, and okay, coming out from this door and this one, only to go into this one, and you're observing, and you say, "Wait a second, this is so self-explanatory." So you're witnessing greatness, and there is such a thing as witnessing greatness. I witnessed greatness here in New York in the 80s and 90s with music and musicians and arts like nobody's business. It was one act better than the other. The experience of going to my first Broadway show in 1983. I don't know if it was. I think it was like Cage aux Folles or something. It just blew my mind. Even though I came from a sophisticated world, yes, we all live in the world. The world is advanced. But the world is the world, and New York City is New York City. There's no comparison. So I I was mainly happy because I estimated it correctly. when I first arrived to New York, and this is apropos art. So I'm introducing to you my studio. Left, got out of those revolving doors in Kennedy Airport in 1983, and I see the traffic, and it was early April, and it was pretty chilly. And I came from countries where the beginning of April should be like whatever, should be like 95 degrees. And suddenly it was these massive automobiles, American automobiles, that just seemed like. And immediately I know I was not disappointed. It was like I imagined it right. And all this thing of driving from the airport and suddenly seeing New York, it was, of course, it was amazing. Of course, it was promising. If you come from Paris, after 3 years of living there and loving there and working there and driving a truck through the the the, the vicinity of Paris, now and then driving to Lyon, now and then driving to Marseille, and you're like kind of early 20s, mid 20s, and you're doing it, and it's good, and you're making friends, and you're relating to present, and we're relating to history and heritage and evolutionary process of cultures, of virtues, of customs, of you name it. So you arrive to New York and you say, fantastic, fantastic. So you're bonding. I mean, if you were to go to Cairo, you will be just as amazed, even though it's a third world country or whatever. But you're talking about Buenos Aires. That's a city that will humble you. I mean, you're going to Buenos Aires, it's going to flatten you, first of all, the first 5 seconds. You think you're going to like die. Not from something bad, just the the immaculateness, the immaculatity, or whatever you want to call it, was so rewarding. So yeah, early 80s, driving from Kennedy Airport towards New York City, and you say, but of course, look at this, fantastic. I had very calm discussions with myself, even though I was pretty scared. I had a little money, I had plans to travel coast to coast, you know how it is, but plans change. Good things happen all around, but the uncertainty, the mystery, and being careful, being smart, after all, you have a home that you can always go back to. You're just traveling, things like that. This is the studio, but not in the level of obviousness. Oh, one day I'm going to use it and introduce it to my canvas or my poetry. I don't think so. If it wants to come on its own, where sometimes you do go through periods where you just keep on saying, I don't know where it's coming from, even though you know where it's coming from. You know what era, what time, and what material is actually show trying finding an opening to show their the grid, their grid, which equals to us as art, as a gift, as a whole tray of common sense patterns, track, and you know keys, locks. I never really, let's say, if I arrived to New York that many years ago, I never said, "Oh, one day I'm going to be a painter in East Hampton," and or something like that, or whatever. I will have 10 kids, or I will be happily married, or uh, but all these years that supposedly let's say I play the drums. I'm a jazz drummer. I write poetry because my sister and my other members of the family are writing poetry. They're poets, so it's kind of second nature, and it's kind of real important necessity, and it's kind of something that you can have in your pocket and you can write, and then whatever. It was just made sense. To there were long years of without a specific plan, like without there was just, yeah, I can say, okay, survival, but there was an artistic edge, and so it was always kind of moving, giving you a sense of I'm here, we're here, it is here, and you you didn't know that those visual compositions are not only that they're there, that you wouldn't know what there is or was, and they just have a role to play, and the time will come and they will be actualized, and this actualization will be the forefront of your present life, embedded within the pleasant past and the vigorous future. And these things happen, and if you're really lucky, you can even witness, feel it when it's happening, while it's happening, very lightly, very vaguely, but you do, and that you know that it means a lot, that it's a major thing. The yeah, the authority, that authority, the self authority, the inner authority, that kind of the work ethics. This kind of straightforwardness about it as well. Okay, there's got to be a plan. Here's this. Everyone can read it. As long as it good to go. Work started. You see observation, overlooking. It's good. Stage three, straightforward. That. And then now you create the environment where it's protected from the elements. You can work inside. You work inside. You do it. All these, I would say, 80, 15 years, 14 years, and then just one day it opens up because it's just this thing just bumped into you, clashed into you, and it wasn't anything solid. It was actually dispersing and probably creating the background piece of this new journey that you will find yourself so abruptly and so quickly and so suddenly a part of. Uh, the the reading is essential. The the accuracy of of predicting. But then, if anything of what I just described to you resembles anything, reminds you of anything, that means you got all it takes to from now on have just a life of a hey, listen, oh yes, we were born, oh yes, we did what we did, oh yes, we're departing, oh yes, maybe we're coming back. That's a pretty hefty, meaningful, deep observation. So if you're there, you're in good hands with yourself. And then art, yes, was, is, will be, yes, many layers of cliché-ness that is just essential for it to become lightweight, and that's it. We want to remain lightweight. We we carry a a meaningful um, luggage, uh, uh, but lightweight. We can go from place to place. We can travel fast. We can take off in moments' notice. So yes, it's in the studio. Yes, it is leaving Kennedy Airport towards this wonderful wonder. I mean, it's kind of harsh and beautiful and dirty and clean and shiny and vague and hazy and wide and narrow and pointy and tall and high and everything. And then you're saying, fine by me. I'm loving it. I'm just walking around saying, I'm loving it. This is just like, but it wasn't that I'm loving it and then I go like today. Of course, I realize what it is that happened and what it is that, for example, in a moment's time or notice, I can give so much to an artist by just by saying certain things or by offering my observation and and you know what? That's what it takes sometimes. Just the right moment, the right mood, the right state of mind, the right place. Boom, and someone is turning, and someone is telling you something, and you said to yourself, "Oh my God, wow! You won't believe what I just heard, what I just learned, what I just realized, what I just realized." So, operating from an incredible ability to accept disability. Yes, I'm disabled in so many ways. I just need to become more acquainted with it and have that list of um, um, my uselessness available so I can learn it by heart, so I can understand the relationship. And it's not like yearning, okay, here's the list that I need to work on. Here's where I'm not doing fine. And here's where I'm even on over. I'm doing very well. But, that which is kind of needed work and all this, that you can actually run the course and be the educator, and you happen to be one of those who attend the session that you of group of people that you're trying to educate. Educate meaning saying, well, here's a different way, and you're going to be with all your attention until I'm done, and then you can do whatever you want with it, or which can include absolutely nothing and everything all combined together. The realization of that union, then it's just not really. What does it really mean? What's the level for this engagement? Is what level of responsibility, new responsibility takes place in addition to what's already is? How do they blend? How do they join together? Is it going to create a new third identity, or is it just going to enhance both existing identities? So these things are happening as we speak, and you will know the answer. You probably know it by now. Quickly, fast, it's going to happen. You're going to have to, well, if not adapt, at least document. You're getting ready for that. And yes, it's happening. And yes, you're observing. And yes, you're taking notes. And yes, you documenting. And yes, you're keeping it in a safe place. And yes, oops, again, it starts all over again. So I figured, in a good day, two occurrences will take place of the same nature, of the same order, and it will be like about almost 4 hours each incident. That's 8 hours. If you're lucky enough to be able to spare 8 hours to be the artist that you are, the poet that you are, the musician that you are. I mean, if you're a musician, if you play any instrument, and you play the instrument on and off in this way or that way, and experiment and exercise 8 hours a day, after 1 year, you will be pretty powerful. Yes. Forget about 1 year. Just 3 weeks. And then you check yourself again 5 weeks. And then you won't be able to check yourself until week number 11 because you will be so taken by yourself you wouldn't even believe it. You would feel maybe um, complacent. The documentation is not the important thing, but luckily there is a defense mechanism around that will pick that up and make that happen for you. You get things correct. So what am I talking about again? That march from it can be from the périphérique in Paris, and all the traffic of Europe comes in and it comes into that circle and disperses into different directions through the city of Paris. These were the days. There were days that the peripheric did not exist. The highway that surrounds Paris. It was like only like boulevard exterior, like the exterior boulevard, and all the traffic of the trucks that came from Europe to go to another country, another side, had to go through the narrow streets of Paris. It was hell. It was crazy. But when you see that, and then you go to New York City, and it's like, you're talking about the early 80s here, and you say, all as I imagined. And for you, the lucky one, you're just happy, period. You just look around and you're saying, wow, this is wow, okay? But you knew you're going to say wow. And you knew that saying wow in the way that you did will indicate, I'm actually loving it. I'm going to pursue the plans that I have. Let's start traveling. Let's start consume this wonderful land by footsteps and by gliding and by, anchoring. Wonderful. I do now and then imagine what if I would have had those years, or 15 years before I really, this hand laid is a mark onto a white surface called the canvas. 15, nothing. It's not even an aspiration. It wasn't like, okay, I couldn't close my eyes and see, oh, I'm standing in front of an easel and the easel has a canvas and I'm looking for the brushes and then I'm kind of something like that. I couldn't. I wouldn't have any ability to imagine how it would be, what it would be. There's nothing. No recollection, no memory, no storage, nothing. It's fresh. Uh, Lucky for me, I realized that quickly enough. So it was uh, uh, as a writer, as a poet, I didn't become such a great poet or much better than it 25 years ago, but I will be more aware today that I know the way to write great poetry. It doesn't mean that I can do it anytime I want just because I know the nature of it. I know what it takes. I know what paths you need to find yourself, whether upwards and downwards and sideways. But I know the paths. I know what is acceptable, and I can make you aware when you kind of maybe making a mistake and kind of correcting you and say, there. Now that's a lot because because it's just the wonderful feeling, the adjustment of being familiar um, with your location. I thought that was wonderful. So you obviously had to take your external life when the time came and realize, oops, I'm a friggin' painter. And then you will definitely catch yourself saying, and why am I not surprised? So for years, it was establishing whatever it is that I can talk to you about for a long time, which we don't have the time, uh, only so I can get rid of the difficulties that are standing in an artist's way, especially at the beginning, that have no business being there to begin with. No business. That's what really prompted me and pushed me to say, you know what, I'm going to stay the course. I mean, and I'm still going to maintain my position here. We got so far. Don't want to just recklessly venture into the future only to come back and realize whatever it is that I had here in the present is not there anymore. So let's just say that I put it to rest because I took care of it, kind of thing. Now I'm kind of more free to venture and to get to the bottom of it. Why? You know, how come? What for? How so? But I didn't have to wonder for too long because it was never a straight line to travel, and it was always like suddenly a sharp fall and suddenly going up and suddenly sharp turns and sudden stops. And so, yeah, you know what? Luckily for me, I was kind of ready. Yeah, I was kind of ready. I was, because I had the advantage that the idea of handling large dimensions, large scales when it comes to, was really a strong side of me, finding myself in this new territory. So I did find myself anchored fairly quickly, fairly soon after this whole thing opened up in front of my eyes, and I had to make sense and to sort through and to find the early stages of finding where I belong. What does it mean? Where I am, to me, for me, to the world, from me to the world, from the world to me, and so much more. And when you're a poet, when you're a drummer, when you're a painter, when you're an entertainer, when you're an actor and a philosopher and just a person of goodwill that just wants to, but resolved in your own world, that commitments, it's fine. How commitment sounds, like rough word, commitment. Yes, because it is. Because you need to commit, commit to the moment, like in the army. Oh my God. Not again. This guy is going to come and tell us it's all based on personal commitment. You live up to it. You live up to the moment. I used to listen to him and say, oh my God. I should be happy. Look at this guy. He needs to talk all the time and handle all these soldiers that don't have no idea where they are even. Anyway, we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning. May 7th, year 2014, on a Tuesday morning, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. To remind you, this coming Friday, May 10th, 3 to 7, we have the opening of Matt Rayner and showing his wonderful work, about 40 pieces. Not to be missed, really a great um, event. So, and then in addition to that, there is just a whole idea of group art shows throughout the year. So LTV is open Monday through Friday. And sometimes there's over after hour activities in theater and music and whatnot. You can check on the website. But Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you can come and check the art and also become acquainted with the station. Again, this coming Friday, 3 to 7, May 10th, here, the exhibition opening reception of Matt Rayner, and my name is Haim Mizrahi. Hopefully, we'll see you then.